ka tangi te kihi, ka tangi te karoro, ka tangi koki aho, tihei mauri ora. Me mihi atu ki a rātou mā, te hunga kua whetu rangitia, nō reira e nā mate, haere koutou, haere koutou, haere koutou. Nō reira, ki a tātou e te kanohi, ora kua hui mai ne I tēnei wā. Mauri ora ki a tātou katoa. Kia ora koutou e hau mā, kua whakarongo ki tēnei data archive. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Horsefry, and I am joined here by...
shit. Fuck.
Forget who you were?
I seem to have forgotten to prepare an introduction in another language, as I have promised to do at the start of every episode. So I just decided in this precise moment to improvise a very bad British accent in light of recent news that you would know about if you watch the fucking book club that I don't know if it'll be out or not by the time this fucking thing comes out.
Time isn't linear.
Hello, I'm Des. Time isn't linear. I'm the parallel shifting, universe drifting, and not restricted by time. My shackles have been released. I'm Des, and I'm out of breath, and I'm here with...
As Corey, how's everyone doing?
Fine, thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Who else is here below me?
Me, Lurf, doing well. Vibing.
Yo.
Hi, I'm Pokey.
Hello, Pokey.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my mihi. I have a few things to say about it. So, I mean, first of all, is it's very cut down from a traditional Māori mihi, but yeah, like saying welcome and starting a meeting is a really important thing in Te Reo. Yeah, so I've cut it down a bit. And also want to mention I'm not fluent, and I may have messed up some of the pronunciation and whatnot. And if you do speak Māori in the comment section, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. And also, yeah, please tell me in great detail what I did wrong, because I always want to learn. But I'll tell everyone what it means, because you know, I expect most people do not speak Māori in the comment section. So the first thing I'm kind of proud of. I started off with a whakatoki, which is a proverb, a Māori proverb, but I changed it a little bit. So the original flows a lot better. It goes ka tangi te titi, ka tangi te kaka, ka tangi koki aho, tihei mauri ora, and it means the mutton bird, the titi, the mutton bird is singing, the kaka, the mountain parrot is singing. I want to say something too. But I changed it a little bit. I changed titi to kihi, which means cicada, and I changed kaka to karororo, which means seagull.
So no stork?
The whakatoki that I have changed a little bit now means the cicada cries, the seagull cries, I want to say something too.
Oh.
I figure, you know, maybe it's attributed to the stork.
Oh, shit, that's amazing.
I think stork is taka in Māori, so you could probably fit it in there. But I wanted to keep the structure the same as the whakatau.
Yeah.
After that, I acknowledged the people who have died and moved beyond this world. I tell them farewell, and then to those of us who remain, I say Mauri ora to us all, which is like Mauri ora is like life force. So it's like saying, you know, long life and good health to everybody. And then I go on to say, you know, welcome to all my friends who listen to this data archive, and finish up just by saying, yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome all of us to this data archive.
Wow.
So yeah, I do not speak Māori. I used extensive, I used a resource that a friend of mine lent me, about writing mihi, which is basically, it's like a mix and match of like say this thing and then say this thing, and like, you know, you can pick these things to say, and that's where I found this whakatoki, and yeah, I use that and a little bit of the Māori dictionary, just like looking up words and trying to make sure they meant what I thought they meant. Because I haven't entirely used a boilerplate mihi, it's possible that I just messed up some of the translation. So, yeah.
I have to say, I smile, but I almost laugh when, like, in the midst of all of these words that I do not know, I just hear Data Archive, and then more words that I do not know, like English jump scare, Data Archive.
There are words for data and archive, but
It was the same with me, but before that, I didn't recognize the words you were speaking, so it sounded like you said "fuck data archives." Whoa!
no.
But I see now. It was a good welcome.
Whakarongo means listen.
Okay, well, with the introductions being done, I guess we're moving on to the next part, which doesn't really make sense. Because the next part is, hey, what have we been doing? But then you realize, oh shit, wait a minute. It's been like a couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 shy of a whole fucking year that we haven't recorded this for. So,
Jeez, really?
I mean, what have we been doing for a whole fucking year?
It took me a year to write this mihi. That's what I've been doing.
What has Ryukishi been doing for a year?
Has it really been a whole year?
Yes.
That's crazy.
The other one was published December 3rd.
Damn.
Just goes to show how long we've been waiting for new Ciconia content.
Yes.
True.
This was a protest. This was a protest action. No more data archives until Ciconia Phase 2 is released.
Ryukishi is watching.
I always feel like
Somebody's watching me. I mean, I think Ryukishi's still waiting for us to find the glass sea in Kyoto and dig up Phase 2 ourselves.
Oh my god, that fucking episode. Some part of me still believes, at least a part of that is true. It really is an ARG. He's just waiting for us to write the rest of Ciconia.
We'll figure it out one day. It'll come to me in a dream.
Okay. So who's here for the first time in the Data Archive? Basically everyone, aside from me and Horsefly, right?
Yeah.
I think this is my second time.
Is it your second time, Poggy?
I know that I had a sprite, and I think it was used.
Okay. Ez, do you have a sprite?
I honestly could not tell you. I don't think so.
Yeah, I gotta get my gauntlet on.
That's a good point. We need the sprites.
So does anyone want to explain their non-yet existent gauntlet designs?
I do want to explain the one that I have because even though for some reason I can't remember if I was on a data archive, even though I cannot find my damn sprite, it's obviously a Danganronpa reference. It was made in direct response to who was it that it was Yen Sid who made an off-kilter comment about Ultra Despair Girls, and I love Ultra Despair Girls so much, even though it's so weird.
Yeah!
I made this in spite. Well, I didn't make this in spite, but that's why I wanted it to be the megaphone from Ultra Despair Girls, because that game has such a cool aesthetic. It's obviously got a little, I think that's Monosoft down there, Monokuma's game company. Alter Ego's in there. And the idea would be you load it with different types of truth bullets that are in the Ultra Despair Girls game. Like right now it's loaded with the break bullet that does damage. But you could also make a robot dance with it.
I love this gauntlet design. Were you the one who drew this, or was it...
It wasn't me.
Damn. Fru. Okay, it was Fru then. I fucking love this design. Like the little cables going up to the shoulder and all the... like the cover for the arm. It looks so good. So good. Damn. I wish I could draw like this.
Fur did amazing.
Yeah. So who else wants? Like, I guess you don't have a gauntlet yet, but you must have like an idea of what you want to do for the gauntlet.
I will sure have a gauntlet in this episode, and it'll be really cool. I promise. Okay. As you actually you can see, I have a really cool and original gauntlet design. That's very reflective of my character.
I like it. It's very cool and original.
Yeah.
I too am generating a gauntlet design in my brain as we speak. I'm seeing something sleek and silver, and that is all I have at the moment.
There ain't no way a spoon.
Yeah. Looks very nice. It's very sleek. Yeah, I like the silver.
Yeah.
Wonderful color. Really goes with your eyes.
Okay, well.
Of course, the other possibility is we forget to do this, and you end up with like a red line drawing on top of your sprites, the gauntlet.
Like a shadow gauntlet for one of the non-characters from like the Ciconia cutscenes.
Yeah,
the demonstration video.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, let's move on into the summary then.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you know, I'm not good at making or reading summaries, so this is gonna sound a bit scuffed. Don't expect Lorenzo, but
Yeah.
here we go.
Never expect Lorenzo.
Never. This time the
Lorenzo busts down the wall.
Surprise.
Never expect the Lorenzo.
He comes in like, hey, you wanna hear about this funny story about my brother?
Yeah.
So, this time the corny Reddit quote that opens the chapter comes from... Shit, I wrote this joke thinking Mushroom was gonna be here. Never mind this joke. It was written by Mahatma Gandhi, and it reads, find purpose, the means will follow. But guess what? He got it wrong, because what follows isn't the means, it's a funny astrolabe that shows that it's almost time for the blood moon to rise once again. We are then shown Meow chatting with Jaden and Gunhild about simultaneous global conflicts from past chapters. They've been saying their job is to pluck the seeds of war, but that's very abstract, so they're making an attempt to concretize the concept in each of the said global conflicts. We forgot to say, but this only has spoilers up until the point we're covering, and then we'll have a section with full Ciconia spoilers. And then if we do have anything related to Umineko or Higurashi to discuss, we'll do it at the end, after we warn you again. Moving on, they quickly realize that defining what the seeds of war are isn't as easy as it seems. And to freshen up ourselves, what happened in the previous chapter was that in the Glass Sea dispute, CUU Japan built military bases in what was supposed to be neutral territory, so the war cats were sent to destroy said bases. And then in the Atlantic dispute, Retabil's cat was sent to fight the AOU Atlantic Fleet, which was that big ass fucking fleet with like a bunch of ships. But then the Atlantic Fleet, what they did that caused Retabil's cat to be dispatched to fight them is that they came to attack ACR territory. And at first glance, you'd say that it was the AOU that planted seeds of war in the Atlantic, since they came to attack the ACR, which is what Shaden proposes. But then Gunhild points out that by that logic, then the Warcats themselves were the ones to plant the seeds in the Glass Sea when they attacked the military base. Jaden then tries to explain they were just responding to an occupation of a neutral zone that CUU Japan did. And then Meow points out the parallels between the two disputes. The AOU Atlantic Fleet was also responding to ACR's occupation of a neutral zone in the Atlantic Spiritium field. So basically, both of these situations are the same. It's just that the cats were on opposite sides of two very similar situations. As Gunhild puts it, if Retabil's group hadn't repelled the Atlantic Fleet, there's no telling what might have happened in the seas around the Atlantic Spiritium field. And in that sense, the Atlantic Fleet was the sprout of war. However, if the Atlantic Spiritium field hadn't been one-sidedly occupied, the Atlantic Fleet wouldn't have been called to attack. So in that sense, the mining base on the Atlantic Spiritium field is the sprout of war. So, as you can see, defining what sprout of war are isn't easy. And what those seeds are will vary depending on the perspective of each faction. And on top of that, Meow is also worried about how they're supposed to keep fighting for peace while also fighting for their own factions. And this time all the four cats had been called to morally grey situations, but what are they gonna do once they're put in inevitably put to work in a situation where they are the ones to start the conflict? Are they gonna be able to keep protecting peace when they're in the center spearheading the attack? It's just a very complicated situation they're in. Jaden then suggests that in that situation, where their mission is to spearhead an attack, They should become a conscious. You're gonna have to help me with this one. Conscientious objector. A shush objector. Because apparently in the AOU you can choose to refuse an order, but then you'll basically be committing social suicide, because then you'll have to quit your job at the military, and then you'll have to start looking for another job, which will be intentionally made extra hard for you. Not to mention Big Brother will always be watching you and make your life purposefully inconvenient by making all the cops pull you over and make all the food you microwave be cold in the center. Feeling cornered by the system, pressured by the higher-ups, and feeling like they're just dancing on the hands of many old men, Meow announces he will create a chivalry recorder, and it will be called the Order of the Public Path, temporary name. This is his answer to the problem of, okay, but what the fuck are we gonna do if we're giving in a mission that they're just making us sprout the seeds of war? What the fuck are we gonna do then? Because the missions up until now have just been to destroy some machinery, which they can do with 0 casualties due to their ultra-precise weaponry, but whenever a mission that might harm others comes up, the members of the chivalry recorder will intentionally fail and say there was a malfunction, or that they just screwed up, and that's how they're gonna go about it. If they're told to kill someone, they'll be like, oh, shit, sorry, the trigger didn't work. Not my fault.
Yeah.
Honestly, the whole idea sounds like it's glued with spit, but the 3 of them... Wait, what happened? Hello?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
good?
Discord just...
Did we all
You're
get
back.
disconnected at once?
it just...
Are you turning into a conscious objector and also filming on purpose? Discord?
Yeah, apparently so.
So let's see. Where
Or
was
it's
I?
silencing us.
Oh yeah, I was saying the 3 of them, Meow, Jaden, and Gunhild, sound super riled up by the idea, despite the fact that it sounds kind of shaky.
Yeah, dangerous.
Yeah, but it's a good start. And then the story mentions how back in B3W, a single soldier couldn't change the world. But nowadays, each Gauntlet Knight accounts for a whole military force. So their sole decision to refuse an order can prevent a massive disaster, as was the case with the example of the Cuban Missile Crisis that the narration mentions and that we also mentioned on the last episode. In this incident, a sole officer refused to greenlight the launch of a missile after the whole military misinterpreted the launch of an enemy missile, and that's apparently the closest we've ever come to an all-out nuclear war. So if every Gauntlet Knight in the world joins their order and makes the same vow, surely they'll at least prevent some disasters. It's kind of like their way of regaining... Fuck, man. I hate technology.
Hello?
Okay, that happened to all of us then.
Okay, so it's Des has disappeared.
You costed me 1,300 euros. Why are you this debilitated after only a year of use? Or 2, I guess, but still.
I mean, I have thoughts, but I feel like it would be improper to say them without Des.
True.
What I will say is that, is it conscious objector or conscientious objector?
It's conscientious.
Following your conscience.
Yeah, sus objector.
Do not buy a laptops from HP. What the fuck is this called? Omen? I think this is Omen 2020. Do not buy this shit.
Rip to death.
Des in peace.
Almost haven't recorded a data archive for almost a year, and Discord is conspiring. Doesn't want it to happen.
Hello again. I swear to God, like, every time this shit happens where my laptop just dies in the middle of the recording, I feel like I'm playing Ocarina of Time, and then that hand, whose name I do not remember, that fucking mob that's a hand just grabs you and pulls you to the start of the dungeon again. Because then I gotta restart the laptop, open Audacity again, start recording again, open the Discord again, enter the Discord call again. And then the worst part is when I get to editing. But that will come later.
Oh, that sucks.
It's the Wall Master, by the way.
The Wall Master. Thanks. Thank you. Okay. So, what have you done in my absence?
Nothing.
Okay.
It was like a solid 30 seconds when no one was going to speak because we weren't sure if we were the one who had been knocked out and we were going to just speak over you doing your summary. I eventually was brave enough to.
Yeah, we could have been going like that for a bit.
You're a hero.
This is where I was at. Okay. Let's keep going before my laptop decides to graduate from life again. So, Meow then worries about whether the other Katas will join them, wondering what Gravemole's opinion is. But then Gunhild is like, actually, I've been double timing y'all. I've already told Chloe about this in DMs. So then Chloe joins, and she's sucking Meow's enormous dick for being so brave, as Horsefly just was for picking up when no one did. Gunhild wonders if the other two members of Gravemole will also be on board with the idea. And then Chloe tells them, actually, I've been double timing y'all. I've already told the rest of Gravemole in the other server. So then Willy and Koshka join. And they're all waiting for what in their heads amounts to skipping work. Fucking grammar. Thanks. Do not fail me. Fearing the lack of commitment from comedic relief characters in this very serious operation, Meow asks for confirmation that they're in on this for real. And at first, they resume their regularly scheduled Koto shenanigans. But then they return to normal after Chloe restarts them. She gives them the funny little zip zap, and then they're like, blah. Hello again. I'm Willia. I've been rebooted. Anyway, despite all the goofing around she does, Chloe can be serious too, and she assures Meow that his ideals touched Koshka and Willia, and reassures him that they're in it for real, true to the end. And then Gunhild adds that she's sure that those two are serious about this, simply by their presence in this chat room, despite the fact that they were playing a game. This level of reasoning was possible for Gustav and Gunhild. What do you think, everyone? Next up, they decide how the recruitment will go. They can't just let just about anyone in, because then the secret would be exposed in no time. I remind you, this is supposed to be a very secret operation. So they decide that Meow will speak with an ace from each nation, and they'll handle the recruitment process on their side. Rathabil for the ACR, the Leto sisters for, Leto. Lingji for the COU, and for the MEN, it will be Stanislaw. Meow reveals he has already been chatting with Lingji, and Jaden gets all, woo, so that's your type. And then Gunhild admits she's been on Stanislaw's DMs too. And then we're going full rom-com mode, and then Jaden says he's been on the Leto sisters' DMs too. But it's Jaden. He's gotta be one of those people who go every day without fail, sending a message like, hey, how are you? And then just keep sending the same fucking message every day until they reply or get blocked.
Oh my god, he's just like my ex.
Meow feels embarrassed he's created a Shival recorder right after learning his father did the same, and wants to keep that secret from him. Little does he know, Tojiro already does, because he's just such a Chad. He knows everything. He's in every server, canonically, he's in every server. It's crazy. The next chapter opens with a quote from Meow himself, and it says, "This isn't about this isn't fucking hell." Okay, let me restart. This isn't about what's about to happen. You gotta think of it this way. We're gonna make something happen. Tojiro is then seen making use of his 15-minute bathroom break to gush over Meow imitating him over the phone with someone who he ends the call with by saying he loves them. So, is this the other facet of gestures that was his ex-wife? I don't know. I think so. But moving on. Where was I? Forgot. Okay, I found it. Going back to his regularly scheduled armchair thinking man mode, the narration compares these simultaneous global conflicts to rolling dice, and all of them turn out to be one. If only two nations had clashed, it would have been written off as a regular incident, but when it all lines up so well that all nations except for Leto are up against each other, you can't help but wonder if someone is behind it. And then the narration deviates into the topic of... not the narration, Tojiro himself deviates into the topic of a divine program that makes universal agreement between humans impossible, which is Ciconia's magical natural selection. it totally feels like some edgy teens attempt at justifying to themselves what they are, why they are special, and totally different from everyone else around them, I think. But it is an interesting concept, not gonna lie. Like the idea that some people are born inherently hating universal agreement, so when the majority of people in the room agree about something, they immediately feel like a need to stand in opposition.
It's contrarians.
Contrarians, yeah.
Yeah. It's like when I see like a bunch of posts about a show that I know I'll really like on my Instagram, and then I'm like, stop showing me this, and then I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it out of spite.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like the bear.
That's why what they bring up. It's like when you like something and then it becomes popular and you're like, well, now I don't like it anymore. It's popular now. I liked it before it was popular. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, this show was better before it got popular, you know?
At the same time, I feel like Tojiro's full of shit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
none of this makes any real sense as to like how he's controlling the world. I hope this isn't like the official explanation about like, or like this doesn't play into the actual explanation of how he's manipulating. Because it doesn't really make sense that he's using the power of contrarians to like completely narrow the discourse to
I think it feels more philosophical.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's a very bizarre theory and like it's not really useful the way he makes it sound like it's useful. Like for one thing, the only thing you can reinforce is the status quo belief, like by doing the things he says he can do. Like if you like make it look like there's a minority and you make them look horrible, it's like cool, but you're not going to be able to force people to think that we should go to war because of that.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Because people can really feel fear when they feel like there's an evil about them that they need to turn against. And I don't think that this is all there is to Tojiro, but I think that it'd be dismissive to say that he's having no effect. I think he's having subtle effects. Maybe not huge, but I think it's adding up to something.
See, what I'm equating it to, and I think he mentions that they're just decoys, like he's planting these contrarians in to make it look worse than it is. But I think about it in terms of, you know, like how like some fandoms are considered like really, really toxic, but it's just like a small section of people that are really vocal and really shitty that like drown out all the people who just like casually enjoy the show and are actually really chill. I think it's kind of like that.
Early Steven Universe.
Yeah, it's like Steven Universe or like Homestuck or Danganronpa, like you know, like all the fandoms that people are like, ugh, like you're in that, like, but like. It puts people off of the media. It makes people not want to interact with the fan content. But like when they actually do, it's not that bad. They just learn it's just like a few like shitty people. Like even new fandoms, like of stuff that just pops up, like Amazing Digital Circus. Like there's a huge hate-dom right now for no reason.
Yeah, I guess. I was just thinking like, yeah, the way he says it sounds like almost like all you have to do is seed like a few like tankies into the left wing of politics, and then everyone will align to the centre, which I don't think is really true. I think seeding tankies to the left will make more people go to the left sometimes. That's like, I don't know, just generally what it's not really the left. I don't think tankies are really left wing, but you know what I'm saying? Like people will join in on really shitty ideologies as well, and like, if there was no anti-war sentiment to begin with, if you seeded some, you might actually get more going that way. I'm kind of thinking of like COVID-19 conspiracy thinking and stuff. Like if you seeded that, it would be enough to get it to like turn into a runaway reaction of like conspiracy theories and stuff.
I think it all comes down to that fear.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's going to be a better time to say it. But I actually looked into, because I couldn't remember what wisteria was.
It's the funny tree from Demon Slayer.
It's the funny purple plant. Yeah, so I looked on Wikipedia, the best of all sources, as we all know.
Yes, as Tojiro would like you to know.
Yes, Tojiro is behind Wikipedia. But I learned a bit about wisteria. Let's see, what did I write down? My conspiracy theory here. So they climb by twining their stems around any available support. The twines turn clockwise. Oh, Japanese wisteria twines clockwise when viewed from above, while Chinese wisteria twines counterclockwise. It can climb as high as 20 meters, spread out 10 meters. Maybe a bit of a stretch, but if Tojiro from AOU Japan is in the order of the wisteria, does that mean that they are turning clockwise and the movement of the doomsday clock we see between chapters is related to their goal?
It's just wild enough to maybe be the truth.
Yeah. Wisteria seeds also are poisonous, and among other things, they cause dizziness, confusion, and speech problems.
Ooh.
Which I think fits well with the order of wisteria. And they've also been used in Japan throughout the centuries and were a popular symbol in family crests and heraldry.
Damn.
That's really cool.
They also represent resilience, which is like, I don't know, withstanding the apocalypse, like outlasting everything to build a new future, you know?
Oh, shit. You're cooking now. Damn. That sounds solid.
I want to point out that Tojiro starts his speech by saying humans are animals that live in societies. Bottom text. Also, sorry, one more thing. He says, whenever a video is, like, doing really well, but it gets, like, 1 or 2 dislikes, like, even though the video content is unobjectionable, and he says, it was, like, theorized that those were evil people. Like, just some people are evil. They twirl their mustaches and go, "Mwahaha, I hate kittens." And then
yes.
It does, like, the study that apparently these people are just contrarians. But, like, I don't know if that study even exists. So, like, I don't know, I just think it's interesting that Rikishi just made up that study. I suppose. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no such study. At least I haven't heard of one.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah. So if you dislike this video, I think that just means, since there's no evidence otherwise, that you're evil. Thank you.
Also, before we move on with the summary, Desi did forget something.
Oh no.
I would just... No, it's nothing like that. But, like, in between Tojiro answering the call and saying I love you, and after the initial meeting in the public bath, there is a text screen. I have it here. It says, it looks like that Meow has started saying something weird again. I'm not sure how much this experiment will affect the current situation, but if we want to crush it, it should be easy to do with a single tip-off. As you said, Gestress, I think it should be okay to let them run with it for the time being. It might be possible to make use of this. For now, I'll wait and see what happens while pretending to approve of Meow's chivalric order. So, someone reported to Gestress about this meeting.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot. Yeah, I think that's Tojiro. Who do you think that is?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought it was implied.
It's probably not Tojiro, because Tojiro's not going to pretend to approve of the meeting.
Also, I think that Tojiro first hears about it with the call for the person that he loves.
Right, which would probably mean that someone sent it to Gestress, who sent it to Tojiro, which
I do have a theory.
I do as well.
Someone who is in this scene, but isn't in this scene, who Tojiro might happen to have some sort of relation to, who has one line.
Meow. Meow.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. J'accuse Meow. Meow being Tojiro's daughter, sharing a body with Tojiro's son. And he has a line where he talks about where she talks about how Jaden likes Mary Carmen and Valentina.
Yeah.
And then Jaden's like, huh? Did you say something, Meow? And Meow, not Cat, says, no, I didn't say anything. So
Yeah.
I think that might have been foreshadowing that Meow has been listening this entire time.
Ooh.
It wasn't a joke. It was like actually he literally didn't say anything. Oh my god.
There's a whole lot of jokes in this, like, in that previous section that you just covered, that, like, are kind of like fly under the radar, but like are a little worrying. I was also going to bring up the that Koshka's just like in the middle of this like top secret meeting about committing treason against the AOU. Is like, oh yeah, I'll trade you 5. Oh sorry, this is wrong, chat. Like, I just got to imagine that like she sent them to the wrong. So these guys get the trade offer, and like some confused one Eudora person is like, okay, and then we strike the White House at. Like,
there's also Lilia and Kush. Is that she says, compared to the thought of Koshka waking up some morning as a super beautiful girl who doesn't use hick words and doesn't have bad hair, which makes me think about like Koshka and her nature, which goes into the tips of Koshka and whatnot. Is that like literal, like waking up with new hair, new beauty, new everything, or is that like being metaphorical and whatnot? You know?
Yeah, I think the very next line is also Koshka saying, "I don't fear death. I die every time I go in for an examination."
Yeah.
Like, are they moving her brain into new bodies?
I also have thoughts about that scene, but it's mostly regarding how they react to this whole thing, just their behavior. Because when they're like discussing that seriously, and then Willie and Koshka just keep playing around, Meow is just I'll just read the conversation. Meow is like, "This isn't just some prank. Do you really understand that?" And then Willie says, "No, we don't, Meow. Koshka and I are stupid after all. So we don't know what we should do or how, because we're stupid, meow." And Koshka says, "That's why you thought it up for the sake of us idiots, right? A way to make the world peaceful and happy. We don't get what sprouts of war are, or how to deal with them, but if you tell us, there are things we can do." And then Willia says what our targets are, how to attack them, and how not to attack. We leave all the hard stuff like that to Chloe, meow. And this kind of discourse just kind of sounds like what you'd hear not from someone who is actually admitting they're stupid, but rather someone who knows a lot more of what's going on behind the scenes and has just been forced to realize how trivial any effort is. So they just choose not to think, only to act.
Yeah.
They choose to be dumb on purpose and escape to a much simpler world where they can just play games and follow orders. In this case, from Chloe.
Most stupid people wouldn't be like, "We're stupid." And then like explain like pretty much like what's going on. Like they're like, listen, we're not here to overly think this. You tell us what to do. We know what's going on, and we'll do what you say. Like that's basically just being like, yeah, we're here, we're loyal, we'll do what we do for you.
Yeah,
you tell us.
I was just mostly talking about like the demeanor of the whole Gravemaw squad, including Chloe. Like they look goofy, but they all have this serious side to them. I just think that's just like the goofy side is put there on purpose by them voluntarily, just so they can. It helps them get through their lives. Okay, then let's keep going with the summary. Oh yeah, we were on the Contrarians, and these Contrarians are apparently the reason that humanity is still alive. So it's just basically natural selection, but biblically accurate now, because it's like God's plan. Either way, the narration tells us that this world is in a peculiar situation, as there are no failsafes, there are no bitches, no Contrarians, and everyone agrees that all their problems can be solved with war. Since the narration says that everyone believes it can be solved with war, I guess that also includes the members of the public path, which then would mean that the narration includes things like the powder keg and the plugging of the seeds of war as war-aligned solutions. So, if the narration is saying that no one in the world has a solution that doesn't involve war, and what the order of the public path is doing is considered by the narration to be a solution aligned with war, then whatever this solution from the failsafes is must be something deeper, like some solution that revolves around the game, not the game board itself, but rather like the virtual world above it, in my opinion, which possibly means that the solution will be a piece ascending to the virtual world, or some character that exists in both worlds, but in a deeper way than the rest of the cast. And then just like last episode's tweet longer about food ingredients and its consumption, Tojiro has another chapter 1 monologue about minorities and how to control the masses either with them or the illusion of their existence, which we have already discussed, exploiting God's plan for his own personal gain.
I still don't believe it. I don't feel like this is... I can't believe that this is like the... I don't know, like real. Like, I hope that like this all turns out to be like Mitaki Mao, Tojiro is, I don't know, insane, or just like talking shit to like deceive people or something. Because like he's like, oh, there's no dissent whatsoever. Like all of the dissent that exists we like manufactured. I don't believe that. I think like you can like start from a point where like everyone agrees and then like seed a little like dissent, and people will go to that rather than avoid it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're like putting shitty things out there, there's always going to be some people who are like, yeah, like obviously like it'll push a lot of people away, but like there are some people who are going to hop on that and be super passionate about it. It's not going to be great. Like, why do you think we have like fucked up groups and like, you know, like in cults and stuff? It's just like people follow like bad shit. Like people who are like who simp over serial killers, like, you know, like you put a toxic thing out there in the world, there's gonna be some people who are like, I agree with these opinions, I'm down for this.
Yeah, exactly. And even if the people who are calling for peace are like, I think we should have peace with the COU. Also, we should set fire to every library. Like, I don't think the entire effect will be that everyone will be like, how outrageous! Both of those things are equally stupid. Like, some people will be like, well, like the libraries thing is dumb, but like, hey, can we actually talk about peace with the COU? That sounds great. I don't know. And also, like, his whole thing about like only evil people would dislike When We Cry podcasts. Like, it's I don't think either they're evil or they're like biologically wired to like disagree with everything. I don't think either of those are actually very plausible ideas. Like, it kind of sounds like the kind of thing that you would only come up with if you're incapable of understanding like that sometimes people have ideas that don't make sense to you. You know?
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but like the two ideas aren't mutually exclusive. Like you can have people who genuinely agree with this very minority opinion, but then the idea here is that these people they may have an opinion, but then regardless of what their opinion is about a certain topic, they will feel compelled to go with the side that has less people on it. Like the thing that they're against, it's not the opinion itself, it's the fact that the opposing opinion is winning. And I mean, that's a real feeling. Like, I felt that sometimes, being like,
I know it's...
no, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with my majority, I'm different.
I'm sure it's a psychological effect.
You know, it's a feeling that exists.
I don't know if that's like gonna like inform your whole position on something though. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems to me like, you know, like, let's take like a cute cat video, right? And you go like, who could ever dislike this? It's just a cat like playing with a cardboard box or something. But like,
if you're having a bad day, I guess.
There are some people who just don't like cats, like, you know, like, and they're irritated that their friend sent it to them, so they hit dislike. You know, like that. There's just explanations for it. You may not like it. It may not be may not be recognizable to you, but like,
it doesn't have to be a satisfying solution. It just is a solution.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I find the thought so entertaining though, because like, okay, as an adult, okay, it doesn't make much sense. But if you think about how kids act, like, I can see a kid, and I think I can see myself as a kid looking at the video that has a lot of likes and just being like, I'll just drop a dislike just to be different. Like that was the sole purpose behind my action of dropping a dislike. It was because there were a lot of likes. Like, and it does make sense with the themes of the story, because the story is about how like the kids are the main characters of every era. So it makes sense that somehow the key to save humanity is this very kid specific thing, this very kid specific behavior. not just kids, but like teens in general. I remember.
I would say that's not exactly what Tojiro's talking about. I think because like what you're describing is like a real easy thing to do, but like if you had to like articulate to somebody like why you're going to drop a dislike on this video, like that's harder to do. I think you'd need to like actually. I mean, I guess you can just leave it like. Yeah, people go on the internet and lie all the time. I get.
Yeah.
You know, like you probably wouldn't bother. Like you just like leave the video if instead of like disliking, you had to like write YouTube a like detailed description of like what is objectionable about this video.
Or if you had to face them face to face when you drop the dislike.
Yeah, which is what Tojiro is talking about. He's talking about people like going on the news and saying like, yeah, we should we shouldn't fight the ACR. Also, let's shave every cat on the planet. I don't know. Like, it's just.
I feel like Tojiro's thing here is like the whole like 8 out of 10 people like it. There's always gonna be like 2 people out of every 10 who disagree with anything. Feels very much to me like 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. Like there's.
Yeah.
There's always.
No. How the fuck did it go? 9 out of 10 people suffer from diarrhea. That's one motherfucker who enjoys it.
Yeah.
People be into stuff, Jess. I don't know. I found out the other day there's a vomit kink. I'm not. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But like I can see like what he's trying to say. I don't think I agree fully with what like how he's saying it. You know, like because like even if people are like doing it for whatever reason, like like they're not just like, oh, I'm programmed to just naturally dislike this thing. They either way they're still like spreading that agenda. And like I also like you brought up the whole thing of like, oh, let's have alliance with the COU, but also let's burn down all the libraries. But I kind of think about like the fandom comparison I made again, where like good show but bad people surrounding it means people just will refuse to interact with the content even though they know that it is like objectively pretty good. I've had that before where like I've been pushed away from something I know I would like because the people around it were just bad vibes and I didn't want to be around that or say or like agree with those people because they were given bad vibes. So if I'm like, oh, maybe we should form an alliance with the COU, people around me are gonna be like, oh, you wanna set fire to libraries too? Like, like they're gonna assume that I have those shitty opinions, and I feel like humans kind of want to like not be seen that way. They don't want to like associate with people who are doing bad things, even though they have some decent points sometimes.
Yeah. Here, Horsefly, if it makes you feel better, remember this is we're talking about fucking God planned genes. I don't think that exists in real life. Like the behavior Tojiro is describing, like he's using very concrete examples that also exist in the real world, but what he's using to describe it isn't human behavior that exists in the real world. It's just sci-fi genes in the DNA that don't exist in Ciconia.
I also think that Tojiro is just... Well, I think Tojiro is pretty safely on the villainous side of the hero to villain spectrum.
No way.
I don't think... Yeah, big hot take, guys. Really, he gives me the vibes of the kind of villain who believes in the greater good. Like, obviously, it's not good to manipulate the media, and he's doing that. And he thinks he's doing it to save the world, and maybe he is doing it to save the world, but I think that the story will ultimately prove him wrong. I think it'll prove that people aren't... It'll turn into Metal Gear. People aren't defined by their genes.
Yeah. There's also the theoretical idea of, like... Because we know, like, there's, like, ADMS in, like, the sky that can just, like, do whatever the fuck. So it's also a thing of, like, theoretically... how digital is Ciconia's world? And in that case, could it be like an actual kind of program he's talking about. I'm just like spitting out shit. Like, is it like a thing coded within this reality that it like, 2 out of 10 people are gonna hate something, and that is just like a statistic written in this life code that we have because
just like a shortcut algorithm. I guess so. That would make sense.
Yeah, because like I don't know, just to have that statistic and calling it God's program in a world where like we can maybe potentially get confused about what is virtual and what is like in the real world, and like how like confusing that can be, especially knowing Ryukishi's past works without getting into that. I feel like there's something there to that like specific language,
Yeah, I just hate the trope where like Thanos stands up in front of the heroes and goes like, "There's too many people, and the only way to save the universe, is to kill half of them." And the heroes are just like, "No, murder is wrong," and then they fight. And like villains in general just seem to get to gish gallop everybody with like a whole lot of like completely unchallenged ideas that are like batshit, but it just works. So I don't know, I'm gonna keep calling Tojiro out because this is not the first time he's said something that I've been like, what the fuck?
No, keep calling him out.
And nobody calls him out because he's just speaking to himself.
He could use it. He could use the ego deflation.
Yes, it's not just that Tojiro thinks that there are too many people, like the fucking Thanos argument. He thinks that people are too dumb, and I think he thinks himself too smart.
Yeah.
The Tojiro monologue ends with the opening line from 2 chapters ago, but now it has a little bit more context. So it reads, then, when your artistic worldwide domino setup is complete, they'll start falling at once, beginning the chain. The people of the world see that world war is approaching, and they whisper as though it is the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end? You're behind the times. Here's how it should go. Once it's begun, it's already ended. So, if we're now getting the quote that opened 3 chapters ago, does it mean that this whole domino chain started all those chapters ago, and that's the point that's the point of no return? Because once it's begun, it's already ended.
That's a good point.
Do you have the chapter that it opens it with?
It was in the last episode.
It's one of the ones we covered in the last episode. Yeah, let me look for it.
The thing that makes me hesitate is immediately after that, Tojiro acts like he's like knocking over the very first domino, but that could just be him like being like dramatic about his line, and it did happen earlier. So
okay, so the chapter is called "The Value and True Weight of Peace."
Yeah, and then something is it at the end? Is it like the beginning of this episode where like it happens again where there's a quote from Mitaki Meow, where he's like, wait, actually I think you read it out.
The one about like
you need to think about doing something yourself. Yeah, having yourself. That happens in the next chapter that we're about to cover. So like there is precedent for quotes happening before the quote is spoken.
So. Moving on, Miao is sitting in the swimming pool with Rethabil, Lingji, and Stan, fully quoted and 2 feet apart because they're not gay, and he's trying to recruit them into the order. They kinda agree with his initiative, but they're worried about joining something with such a shaky base. Because, I mean, what if they find out? Stan ends up riling Miao up after he mentions soldiers are trained to act, not to think. So Miao starts going on this rant about how they're just sitting on the most powerful weapon in history and are just mindlessly following orders instead of using this advantageous position they have to save the world. It's a really nice speech that I can't do justice with a summary, but he does get pretty heated. And despite that, none of the other 3 members do. Which I took to mean that they deep down agree with everything Miao had shouted. Stain then brings up the Sprouts of War again. He brings up the Sprouts of War and he wants to have a discussion about who gets to define them and what they actually are. And that's because a disagreement over what is and isn't a Sprout of War could be a Sprout of War in and of itself. So it's a discussion they need to have. And then Rethabil refuses to join until Miao can answer those questions. And in the end, his on-the-spot answer ends up being enough to convince Rethabil and the others. he decides that they should decide by themselves in the heat of the moment whether the situation is a sprout or not. Because they will never find an objective way to go about it, and no one has more context of the situation than the people who are personally dispatched to deal with it. So everyone in the chat room agrees that this is the best course of action. After all, if Miao was the one deciding, the Gauntlet Knights would still be taking orders, just from someone different. And since freedom of action and goodwill are the key points of their vow to protect the world, it only sounds right that this is how they do it. But they still need some form of structure, so it is decided that each of the present members will be the ones deciding whether something is a sprout or not, for all the Gauntlet Knights of their respective faction. At the end, they decide they simply must change the name of the Order of the Public Bath, temporary name, and everyone gives their suggestions. But Wingji's Order of the Public Bath gets translated as Order of the Public Lust, and she then dies from cringe. Mari Carmen and Valentina come in, and suddenly everyone's saying lust by mistake. I don't know if this is like an intentional AI, but they came in late, so they had to rethread old conversations because they're too lazy to read past messages, and it was all for nothing because they didn't join. They straight up they just said no, we're not joining. They agreed with the ideals, but they said they can't join because the name sucked, and also because the IPMA is supposed to be the peacekeeping organization, so they don't intend to join a second one. But that doesn't mean the IPMA won't eventually have a Joker moment, so they decide to keep an eye out on Meow's gig, in case they decide to, jump out. This makes 6 of them, but Meow wanted 7, because Funny Lucky 7, which isn't even a Xenoblade reference. The Leto sisters say they can't think of someone from Leto to fill in the 7th position, so that they would have one person from each faction. And Rethabil points out that having 2 people from the same faction would disturb the balance. So we are left with a dejected Meow who wanted 7 knights, because it would be a funny Dragon Knight 07 reference. Which I only realized this on this reread. I did not fucking think of this when I first read Ciconia. Keropoyo jumps in with his own opinion, don't worry about the sentient AI, and asks to be the 7th member, so Meow makes him the secretary. Mari Carmen remarks this makes him the 2nd ever Frog Knight, confirming she is a gamer girl. Meow asks Keropoyo to decorate the room with a wallpaper fitting for the Order of the Public Bath, temporary name, and tomfoolery is soon installed, but quickly cut short, to us readers at least, by a barrage of increasingly worrisome news of an escalation of the conflicts between the factions, resulting in the deployment of the war cats. And that, with a lot of concentrated saliva in my mouth, concludes the summary for this episode. Thank fucking God. I do not like doing the summaries. This is so boring to do, and then so hard to read in a compelling way.
It's so hard to.
I'm not good at reading.
Yeah.
In case you didn't notice, I stumbled a lot in my words.
I think the phrasing of the announcement at the end, the sword of peace will finally be unsheathed, is so good. Because it's like...
That's a cool line,
It's just like, I don't know. It shows the duality of, like, what is a soldier, but, like... Mm-hmm. Or, like, what is war, but violence for peace. But, like, can you even get peace with fighting? And, like, also going on to the whole thing about, like, preemptively striking as self-defense. Can that be in the name for peace? Can you preemptively strike someone that you deem a threat in the name of peace?
I think that also relates to the John Winston quote that's at the very end of the chapter. I can't decide which is more foolish, using warlike means to say you're for peace, or using peaceful means to say you're for war.
I was just like, I'd like to say, like, the decision they come to where, like, everyone just decides for themselves what's the spread of war. Like, this whole chapter has, like, a whole lot of red flags for how this, like, secret society is going to go. I'm not sure how much this is, like, spoilers, but, like, everyone's going to decide for themselves what's the spread of war. But, like, isn't the whole problem that, like, if you don't if you don't defeat the base in the Glass Sea, then that's, like, COU gets what they want, but if you destroy it, then the AOU gets what they want, and, like, both sides were kind of justifiable as being considered, like, sprouts of war, so, like, who do you decide? Like, how do you... you're just going to make that call on the fly, I suppose. Like,
I mean, it's more kind of like a thing of like war wouldn't have sprouted if they didn't clash together, you know? So like if you avoid the clash, then like, you know, like no one gets hurt, there's no war, and yeah, they the other side gets what they want, but like, were they being hostile in the first place? Were they like taking it by force, or were they just hanging out there, you know?
Yeah, but which is getting very dangerously close to like Neville Chamberlain appeasement.
Yeah.
But it's like Neville Chamberlain appeasement by the military being totally incompetent. It would be like if the French like occupied the Rhineland after Germany remilitarized it, but they like were so desperately incompetent that Germany was like, oh my god, we can do whatever the fuck we want, which is kind of what they thought anyway, because like the French withdrew. But like, you know, like it's kind of the same thing in the end. So
does anyone remember what I was saying before I died?
Oh, you died.
Yeah.
what, did you die again?
I didn't notice you were saying something, so I think you might have to start over your thought.
Sorry.
Shit, I don't remember. That was the whole point I was asking you, because I don't remember.
Oh no.
I mean, we were talking about like seeds of war and like people deciding that for themselves and how sketchy that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll cry about it during editing. It's fine. I'm really glad I started recording with my phone too. So otherwise, I would have just lost in 20 minutes of conversation.
You can always put it in post.
Yeah, it's fine. No, I did. I was introducing a topic for a discussion, so it's fine. It's just lost. It's lost media now. When they cry lost media, that never happens.
No.
So, as far as them deciding what's a sprout of war, I think that they're more so talking exclusively about like violence and conflicts, but also I agree it's kind of shady, if only because now they're individually becoming their own, I guess, dictators, where I think that the solution would probably be for them to decide together.
Yeah, like all like have a meeting and be like, this, yes or no. What about like this kind of scenario? And like, yeah, there'll probably be like, you know, moments that they didn't like think about, but they could use past reference to kind of guess what they should be doing. I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah, like that would be an order, right? Whereas what they've got is kind of like a club.
The biggest pro of having like a leader is how fast you can react to a situation. How fast a group can react to a situation, because you only need one person to like give the order, to make the decision. But in this context where they can have whole fucking conversations in an instant because of the mental tablets, why do we need leaders? Why can't we just discuss things with all the time we have in the world in our heads?
Think of that. Yeah, they are capable of thinking so much faster than people in our reality can.
Yeah, they'll be zooming.
Yeah, so like it's on them. you have no excuse to. You could literally have a debate over the smallest little detail, and no time would have elapsed.
Well,
basically.
if they're fighting against, at least if they're fighting against other Gauntlet Knights, they also can think that fast. So like, can they really afford a moment to discuss as fast as they can when the other people are attacking as fast as they can? You know, like when like they're getting their counter out and like plotting against you while you're like taking a moment to think about what you're gonna do. I mean, obviously they have the ability to think at multiple things at once because the parallel processing bullshit. But I don't know. I feel like you still do need time to think about stuff and discuss.
But if the two people fighting are in the same order, they're just mock fighting as they discuss. Mm-hmm. Right? They're just mock fighting.
That's true.
Yeah, but like if Warcat and Baibal are both like deployed to attack and defend respectively the Glass Sea base, like decide for yourselves doesn't really work for that situation either. Like they have to agree between them. Like who is going to fail and who is going to succeed. If they don't agree that, if both sides are like, no, actually I think the COU is right, no, I think the AOU is right, then they're just going to fight. And like, yeah, they've got the whole don't die, don't kill thing going, which is good.
Yeah, I think that's a good rule.
It would just mean that they're careful. Yeah, but like, you know, they're both going to fight and they're going to try and win. and then whoever wins is going to either defend or destroy the base.
Yeah,
Which kind of defeats the purpose of the secret society.
that is really confusing, because the reason I wrote it like that in the summary is because when this idea is first presented, their conclusion is everyone should decide for themselves. And then in the next chapter, they literally say, okay, and now each of you is gonna be an they don't call it an ace, they call it something else. But each of you is gonna...
A master.
The leaders, each of you is gonna be the leader of your faction and you're gonna decide for your faction. So it kind of like overrules what had been stated in the previous chapter, that was each Gauntlet Knight decides for themselves. So that's why I wrote it like that in the summary.
Well, they're saying that their leaders are... I mean, in actual combat, it would be up to the masters on the scene to do it. So, like, in the moment. I feel like it's less like they're like, oh, every single individual person should be able to decide, and more like, we're not going to rely solely on Meow because, like, we have, like, so many different people from so many different, like, you know, nations here. And, like, it would be unfair for just Meow to shoulder the responsibility of knowing what's right. So Meow is like, hey, I trust you guys. That's why I, like, invited you first. That's why I brought you in here. To discuss this and help me recruit people, so you guys are in charge of, like, your own individual branches of this, and it is up to you to decide what is a Sprout of War and what isn't, instead of just it all being on Meow's shoulders.
I think it is definitely a good call from the perspective of it's possible some or all of them wouldn't have joined if Meow had been like, I'm going to decide. You have to do what I say. You know, they probably would have been like, all right, yeah, no, sorry, we can't, like, that's, like, literal treason. Like,
yeah.
we just decided to be a spy for the AOU, basically, at that point. So, like, yeah, from that point of view, like...
Yeah, because that way they can do it in a way that isn't, like, betraying their country, but also, like, trying not to further the war agenda. But from a dramatic irony standpoint, we know that there's some moles, some traitors within the midst. We don't know who they are, but they could be in this room. And Meow literally just went, yeah, you can decide for yourself, which is concerning. Because then, like, you know, if something happens and they're like, why did you do this? They could just be like, well, I mean, I thought it was right in the moment. How could I have had the foresight to know? Like, and then it just gives them an excuse. Which is concerning for the future.
Yeah.
But there were terrorists hiding in those hospitals.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, you don't understand. I thought that if I didn't destroy that hospital, that the terrorists inside would have blown up my country.
I've never done anything wrong in my entire life ever.
Also, not necessarily related to this, because I mean, I don't even have, like, proper solid theories on who the traitor is, but can we talk about, like, Stanislav's, like, stupid, like, really concerning names for the chivalric order? when they're like, how about the order of the hell murder bloody splash fearsome gut eaters? And then, like, he does, like, another one later on.
He just has a lot of pent up anger.
No, I think it's because he's into death metal, same as Gunhild.
Yeah, order of hell's bloody heaven of madness and death.
Yeah.
Do you have all of that written down, or do you know that from memory?
I'm just skimming the page a little bit.
Okay.
I like doing that during the summary to see if, like, there's, like, something specific around the area you're summarizing that I wanted to bring up.
I did want to bring up something, like, as well with how the Leto girls just, like, turn down. It's kind of strangely ominous. They kind of play it off as a joke, but they're like, oh, if your sense of justice differs from ours, then expect to be dealt with accordingly. It's like, well, that's a bit fucking, like, worrying. Like we've got this secret society, and then we've got two people who, like, are completely unaccountable to us and, like, haven't agreed to be you know, secret whatsoever. But we're just gonna, like, let them in on the plan, I suppose. Like, if they wanted to, they could just, like, dob any one of you into, like, the COU, the AOU. Like, they could be the moles, like, for all you know.
Yeah.
Their chosen role is observer, which to me is just super suspicious.
Observer.
We want to watch you make all of your plans, but we don't want to be held accountable for our inability to follow your order.
Yeah, they have no accountability and all.
Because Lotto does, like, take a neutral position overall, but, like, who's to say they wouldn't get dragged into stuff anyway or decide to join stuff? And now, like, you have these people that know about this order that, you know the people who are at least leading this order.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like asking the Leto girls, like if there's ever like a conflict that they can't resolve themselves, they're gonna ask the Leto. It's like, well, Leto is their own, like, you know, like when you have a conflict between like two countries, that like you don't just turn to the United States and be like, hey, like, what do you think we should do? Because they're just gonna draw a line, like, you know, like the British did in Africa. Like it's and like that's at best. Like the British, when they did that, they just didn't give a fuck. But like, you know, maybe they'll be like, oh, give it all to the country that we like more. Give it all to the country that we think will help us like fight our enemies in the region. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And Leto has all the most powerful weapons, right?
They have access to Spiritium fields that are like
yeah.
theirs exclusively. So they're super advanced.
I mean, if I'm being very cynical, I'd say they're all Leto's enemies. Like, they just don't want to fight them because they're so much stronger. But
There's also Tojiro, who knows everything.
Yeah, but like we don't even need to go to the Deus Ex Machina that is Tojiro. Like Meow has left so many openings into his order.
He's just a little guy.
Like there's just so many ways in.
He just trusts his friends.
Yeah, but I mean, like, can you really trust them?
What, you want him to make the Higurashi mistake?
Like, he basically built a castle, except he didn't build any doors. So like the castle is just open on all sides.
I think he just built too many doors and he left them all open and unlocked.
and the way he got the money to like build the castle was he embezzled funds from his employer,
Yeah.
who can have him executed at any time.
He could have at least made some form of test order. Like, he'd make a fake order and then do like the Attack on Titan season 1 twist of like spreading misinformation in the fake order, and then trying to like understand who's leaking the false information that he put there, so that he doesn't let those people into the actual real order.
Be smart, kind of like that one moment in Promised Neverland. Just like the whole like give them fake information, see if they act on or against it, and if they do, then you know they're not trustworthy. They don't get to know what's actually happening.
I mean, that would be a wild twist.
I mean, I think Meow would have to be like directly working for the AOU, like in creating this, in order for that to make sense. Because creating a fake order is still like an executable offense, you know,
Right.
unless you've been explicitly sanctioned by the higher ups.
I think that Ciconia will challenge a lot of what we learned, or like what basically the philosophies of Higurashi, mostly Higurashi, were. And I think that it'll involve a solution that involves a healthy amount of trust and distrust in like not being gullible. Like Meow feels pretty open right now, but not being so suspicious that you start a war.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we'll have any themes of like empathy similar to like Umineko themes? Because I think that's like a good distillation of Umineko's.
I think so, because like there has been talk about them, like, you know, like having like this kind of understanding that like people's cultures are different than theirs, and like not wanting to offend even if they don't necessarily agree with everything. They had that whole discussion, I believe earlier near the beginning. They were first getting to know each other. So I feel like seeds are there, because like I always like see like, oh, Higurashi is about like friendship, Umineko is about love, whether it be like romantic or familial. And now I'm just kind of looking here like, Ciconia, what are you about?
Ciconia, what do you believe in?
Sex.
It's around public life.
Exactly.
I mean, it seems like it's, I don't know, I can see it being about like nationalism and what it means to like be part of a collective, you know?
Like, yeah, like is it like about like, you know, like loyalty, like respecting your fellow man, like, you know, like I don't know.
We already know because it's family. Like Higurashi's friendship, Kikuni's family, because you have all of these things about
Right,
like
the stork.
Meow's father, Meow's mother, and then the stork. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, family, love, friends, love, family.
And family is also being part of a collective, if you think about it, if we're going...
Right. So it'll probably become an analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole world is one big family.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to talk to your relatives. Sometimes they say things that you don't like, but you got to treasure those relationships anyways. Don't cut them out of your life. Or do. Yeah.
Maybe.
Or do.
I'm looking. I can definitely see the family angle, especially like with the emphasis of like, you know, like the whole like Ciconia born versus like, you know, like born via computers, and like how each nation has like a different stance on that, and like, I don't know, like possibly like genetic relationships versus like, you know, like found family stuff. I can see that becoming a theme in Ciconia later on.
Wait, yeah, now that you mentioned genes, I just remembered something. What?
Yeah.
I think it was it AOU, the only nation that made test tube babies, and then all other nations still had them delivered by storks.
I know the
Or
COU
was it
still
the
has
other way
them.
around?
I think it's just AOU.
Yeah, it's just AOU because Meow is the exception.
AOU is almost exclusively like the machine or artificially born, and then I think it's the COU has a mix of both.
So if they're like artificially born, and we know that they mess up their genes, is that where the whole contrarian gene fits into all of this? Like the God's plan?
Or maybe.
That's why they have artificial babies?
So that the babies don't have that contrarian gene?
Or that they do, depending on whoever's messing with
Maybe
it.
the gene is more like a metaphor, and like because they're being raised from birth with
From birth.
raised from birth with propaganda, that it makes them easier to control. So maybe the gene isn't like a literal gene that Tojo is talking about, but something that's different about the way that these people are born. And maybe that's part of the reason why he had Meow.
I feel like part of the reason Meow also was born is just because he is like the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, his P3 levels are so freaking high.
Yeah.
But that could be because he's the ultimate contrarian.
I don't know, because
I think he was a special baby between mommy and daddy who wanted to make a super baby.
it's really interesting, the idea of like a naturally born super baby when they have all these like ways to just like customize your baby.
Exactly.
Well, do we know that it's customizable babies, or do we just know that they have babies in machines, you know?
Pretty sure I don't think it's confirmed.
It is customizable.
Oh, true. Well, they're able to like tell exactly what someone will be good at from like when they're in the test tube, pretty much. Like they have all the baby stats.
But that's different than designing a child, you know, preemptively.
The parents aren't choosing to make an artificial child. You're either, because they aren't like put up for adoption, or like you go in with your partner to like Babies R Us, and you are like, we would like one baby, please. No, I think the state is the one producing them. Well, I say the state.
Dude, imagine being the fucking guy whose job is to go through all the sperm cells, identifying the best ones.
I mean, are they even like using that, or is it like completely like synthesized baby?
Yeah.
Oh, good question.
Alright, do we just want to go like full spoilers, like full Ciconia, full Umineko, Higurashi spoilers? And just jump right into that?
I have a full Ciconia
That's
thing that I'd like to say, if we're moving
I do
on.
have one full Ciconia thing, yeah.
Okay, so let's...
Okay, then from here on, there's gonna be full Phase 1 spoilers. So if you haven't read all of the novel, or Phase 1 at least, we hope you've enjoyed the episode up until now. And we'll see you in another fucking year.
Yeah.
And now we're on the full Phase 1 spoiler section. So, what you have to tell us?
Well, I wanted to talk more about my J'accuse on Meow, and how I thought Meow was the one who informed Tojiro. Maybe was the one who informed Jestress. And I wanted to know people's thoughts on that, and on whether that extends to Meow being the mole / Meow being a traitor towards the end.
I find it possible.
Yeah, I do not trust female Meow at all.
I just think it's really interesting that, like, in all that we've seen of Tojiro, and, like, how doting he is of, like, a father to Meow, that he says nothing about Meow, you know?
And what
Yeah.
really interesting, you remember that one scene, it's been a while since I've read it, but, like, where, like, Meow is having dinner with his dad, and then, like, all of a sudden, like, it's just over, and he's like, oh, like, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was Blue Meow, because I feel like that's, like, a specifically, like, VR thing. Like, we've never seen Blue Meow appear outside of that, if I recall right.
Yeah, we haven't.
So, like...
It always scratches the screen.
Yeah, Blue Meow's only been inside of Meow's head so far.
Yeah.
So far as we know. I think
Yeah.
that Blue Meow might, in fact, be a genuine, like, CPP in some way, but I don't think that that's a fully formed theory.
I just had a crack theory about Blue Meow, but I feel like it's full Umineko Higurashi, so I'll keep that on the DL for now.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say regarding Meow, like doing actual some things in these scenes that we are not seeing. Fucking Lilia's catchphrase keeps popping up as a giant elephant in the room because she keeps saying meow.
Oh shit!
What if that's some sort of keyword like awaken meow and turn off meow?
He's just a sleeper agent.
Oh my!
When he
gosh.
hears meow, he turns into a girl.
Which is a shame because that's his name.
I heard the opinion that someone said that it was Tojiro who's reporting to Gestress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other discussion on who it might be besides Meow?
Besides meow and besides Tojiro.
I mean, I'm always sus of Stanislav, but I don't see any reason for... Like, I don't see any evidence of him being in touch with, like, Tojiro or Gestro specifically. I just think he's a suspicious individual, but he's maybe a little too suspicious.
I had the theory that he's using drugs to manipulate not only Naima, but also, was her name Naomi? Yeah, that he's manipulating both of them with drugs. So when the line came up where Stan was like, I'm sure that both of the other members of my kete will agree, I was like, oh, are you manipulating them?
Oh.
Other than some suspicious stuff, I don't think I see a connection between Stan and either Gestress or Tojiro, whereas Meow is the daughter of both. Well, both of their bodies. I don't know about which CPP is the actual mother.
I need better ways to separate these two bitches. But I feel like masculine Meow might have been the first one, but I don't know. I feel like I mean, yeah, male Meow is the one fronting most often, but like, has that been the whole time?
Oh, do we know that, like, they can't co-front, you know?
We've seen... I mean, technically they co-front whenever they're doing gauntlet stuff. Because, like, they're both, like, kind of using, like, their own, like, ways to think about stuff. So, because, you know, they're parallel processors. They're working at the same time to do things. It's just, like, sometimes, like, Meow is, like... Female Meow is, like, in Meow's brain, like on the computer reading, like... old manga or whatever the fuck she's doing, you know. But like, because like we know from the beginning when we learn that like it's Femme Meow who is complimenting Jaden at the end of like Mask Meow's criticisms, that like they're paying attention at the same time and they can like kind of like speak, and like one of them can say a sentence like in the midst of something while they're together, but there's also times where like they can just like decide to completely ignore the other, like I imagine Mask Meow was doing when Meow and Jaden first met.
Yeah, and when they go on dates, it's explicitly stated that it's like male Meow is just sleeping in the room.
Yeah, like he's taking a break. It's like, I don't want to see you kiss my body.
Yeah.
I also, like, just to go back on what I said about Meow having a line in there addressing Mary Carmen and Valentina, their emails with Jaden. And that was quick. I didn't even notice that it was like Cat Meow was written there on that line until I doubled back. And I was like, wait, Meow said I didn't say anything? Wait a minute. And it was Meow. Just, like, straight out of Male Meow's sprite.
Yeah, that was how I noticed. The Let's Play does a cool thing where the Something Awful Let's Play, they put a little pink dot at the bottom left corner when it's Cat Meow.
Oh.
Wait, they do?
I didn't notice that, but I quite like that. Nice little feature.
How do they know, though?
I guess they're just guessing.
I mean, I think this one was pretty explicit.
The characters usually have little character names, don't they?
Yeah, the character names is what told me that they were speaking here.
Oh.
It's something that none of the other When They Cry stuff have. It's the first time that they've had like script names.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that. Yeah.
No, in certain versions of Higurashi and Umineko you do.
Certain versions.
In the ones that are not
straight from Miyukishi's.
Yes, straight from his womb.
It's the first time it comes from like this from the source.
It'd be really fun to go through Ciconia and see if I can like parse out when it's like Meow versus Meow, because like that seems very out of character for Meow, the whole like big sister type, like, you know, like little blush, like obviously with the pink dot and stuff, but I'm like wondering if there are moments that like we as readers don't explicitly know about.
Like if it says M-I-Y Meow, but actually it's Meow speaking.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's gotta be what's happening, like, 100% of the time with the other CPPs. Because I have a whole bunch of theories on who's a CPP. Ruxana, almost definitely a CPP. Chloe.
Little Miss Wow.
Yeah, probably Lilia. But they're just... And the majority, I believe, of Gauntlet Knights are CPPs. So there's gotta be some moments where we're talking to a different person with a different name than the one we see on screen.
Yeah. I would really like to like go through Ciconia with like a fine-tooth comb and figure out who I think has a CPP or who doesn't, based on like when they say something that seems really out of character for them.
Oh, like that leads directly into another thing that I was observing with Chloe's tips. And Chloe, the tips say that she has... I'm going to paraphrase. She has never used her ability to subdue Koshka and Lilia with electrocution before. That's the gist of what it says. Whereas in the story, they get electrocuted a couple times. So I'm wondering, maybe it's not Chloe that's doing the electrocuting. Maybe it's one of her CPPs.
Chloe Evil.
Yeah, besides just Chloe Evil, in this scene, the very passionate Chloe is very unlike the very nervous Chloe we see a lot of the times, and they're
that is
the
true.
ones speaking. So maybe there's at least 3 Chloe.
I don't think. I mean, it can be that deep, but I don't think it has to, because subdue is a strong word. I don't think what she did in this chapter was subduing them. She just punished them. That's the word they even use in the chapter. She punished them. She didn't subdue them.
Well, actually, because in the tips it says that the reason she's never done this before is because she knows that Koshka and Lilia would give her hell for it.
Yeah, but I still think I wouldn't call what she did to them this episode subduing them.
Subdue, quiet, it's kind of like to be subdued is to become like quiet or like calm down, maybe a little like downtrodden. Or, you know, bring people under control. When, you know, Lila and Koshka are like, scree, wanna have a go, like that's when she shocks them and they calm their asses down and they start being normal. I think that counts as subduing them.
Yeah, subdue actually might be my word. I'm pulling up the tips now so I can actually read it to make that less confusing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, subdue can also, like, when the police use it, it means like beat the shit out of them. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got it. Forced control of research subjects. That's an S-class skill. She has been given emergency codes that allow her to electrically suppress Jiroi research subjects if they get out of control. However, if she uses these codes, Koshika and Lilia will make her suffer for it, so she hasn't done so yet. I believe this is unlocked as soon as Chloe's introduced, so at that point in the story, the person who is named Chloe, who this file is about, has not used it yet.
Also, like, it's really interesting because they haven't given her hell for it.
Right, so
like, they know, like, not to fuck with the Chloe that is electrocuting them. Oh.
No, they said in the chat that they're dipping because they have a headache.
Yeah, it is his head to go.
Yeah, bye, yes.
Got it. What I do find really interesting is that, like, we have, like, really passionate Chloe just, like, going on and being super passionate, which, like, it could maybe be Chloe, but, like, especially when she's like going off and, like, being like, long live Mitaki Meow, Chivalric Order, long live Grandmaster Meow. I feel like that's, like, a lot.
yeah.
But when we get down to, like, after that, like, she starts being, like, her usual, like, anxiety thing, and she's like, wah, and she's, like, doing her little, like, two, like, brackets pointing at each other, little text quirk, and that's the one who's talking when the shocking happens. So, like, is the one controlling Chloe's body at the moment different from the one who's speaking?
I don't know where I stand with this, because not everything, not all the justifications for, like, different behaviors for the same character need to be different CPPs. It can just be the same character having two facets to them. But also, with CPPs being such a central focus of the story, it also feels like if it isn't a CPP, then what's the point of having CPPs if these situations aren't gonna be CPP related? So I don't. It's kind of weird.
I mean, I feel like there's learning new facets and having a deeper understanding of a character, and then there's the possibility that this isn't the character that we know and it's a CPP. And I think that given that we have the CPP, like, thing established, and we know that the majority of Gauntlet Knights have it, it's kind of inviting us to actually overanalyze these characters and see if we can figure it out, and if, like, things seem consistent with their beliefs, then it might just be like, oh, that is this character consistently, even though, like, we learn new stuff about them. Or it can be like, oh, wait, this is wildly different from everything you've shown us so far. Is this a CPP? And I think that's kind of, like, the thing we have to look out for.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously, like, Chloe and Chloe Evil, like, the sadistic side are, like, wildly different. Like, there's no chance there. But, like, I feel like, you know, Femme Meow is, like, while they are very different, when they talk, it's subtly pretty different. Like, you know, like, people didn't notice for a long time whenever Femme Meow, like, came up. But then, like, if you're, like, paying attention to Meow, like, after the fact, it kind of... I mean, obviously we have the names and stuff, but, like, retroactively when you look, you're like, oh, yeah, like, this is probably, you know, Sister Meow. Because, like, Meow's being, like, uncharacteristically, like, super sweet when he's a little bit of a tsundere.
My thing I was going to say was just, like, this fucking frog that just is in every conversation, every scene, every, like, I don't trust him. I don't trust the seventh knight of the public bath. I think he's, like, by far the most sus character in this entire visual novel.
I sure hope this, like, Canopoio doesn't end up being, like, a voice for the narration, like the incarnation of authorial intent or something, just because it's the seventh knight, and it would be ironic if it was like Ryukishi's piece in Ciconia.
Canopoio is wait, I can't say that. That's Umineko.
It would be funny, but, like, I hope it's not.
I can't get around the fact that, like, Canopoio is, like, the equivalent of, like, Snoo for Reddit, or, like, the Reddit face mask thing for... Sorry, the Discord face mask thing for Discord. Like, it's a cute, like, a cute mascot for, like, a soulless company that, like... like people are just like casually like, oh hey Karaboyo, yeah, you can be our secretary for our treason secret order. Sounds great.
Yeah.
It's not like you get a choice about this. Like if you're gonna commit treason over Cellcom, like they're basically using the version of like Google, like the Cellcom communications are all over like this. They talk about it earlier on, like where the program they use is like supposedly like decentralized and not like
open source
and free and which probably means it's like, you know, like Google just selling your data, which is a really bad place to be when you're committing treason over the internet.
Meow is just doing all the things he shouldn't with this.
Yeah.
There's also the creepy fact that every copy of Karapoyo is personalized.
That Karapoyo knows your search history and like, you know, says stuff based off like the stuff you say.
Yeah, that's all my thought. I just every time I see this frog, I'm like, I get fight or flight response.
Yeah, I'm scared for what Karapoyo is going to become because we know he's important, but I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you going to become? What is going to happen here?
We'll never know because war keeps happening in real life, so it cannot happen in fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it all started with COVID, and then Russia and Ukraine happened, and now Israel and Palestine is finally getting the attention it should from European countries and shit. So like, it's never gonna get released. It's just not. Education is just gonna keep pushing it back. I think I've accepted it. We're not getting more phases.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially not during Silent Hill F production, I think.
Yeah, I hope the real reason that current events are influencing Phase 2 is just because he's looked at some of the themes he was going to have and he's like rethought that in the context of like what he's experienced in the last like 4 years and been like, actually I kind of have different ideas.
I mean, like,
you know, like,
isn't it?
Maybe this is like a bigger.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, isn't it like a Japanese kind of culture thing when like, you know, something that happens like in real life is related to something in fiction, they tend not to release it. Like I'm sure I've heard of that with like Pokemon episodes, like like one involving Earthquake where they didn't rerun it or something like that because of an earthquake that happened.
Show it. It happened in season 1 with Tentacruel, and then it happened in Hoenn again with Wishcash.
Yeah.
You see similar things happen in America, like after 9/11. Like there were a whole lot of plots. Like it was a quite common plot to have like terrorists fly a plane into a building, or to blow up a building, or to hold a building hostage, and a lot of that got axed because of like the real life events.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a sensitivity thing, I think. So I think like Rikishi being like, my story about like, you know, like different nations like fighting and like dealing with all these heavy topics, and like he said like COVID was kind of like, you know, writing about Godzilla, then Godzilla suddenly showed up, so like there's probably gonna be like a sickness thing going on, or like some kind of pandemic, or at least like a metaphorical one in Phase 2. So I think it's just Ryukishi being like, ooh, I started writing Ciconia at a really bad time for Ciconia to release.
Maybe this is like a bigger version. Well, maybe I should save that for Umineko spoilers. It's not big, but it's just about Umineko.
Well, do we want to get into that?
I was going to say if we want to move over there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then
we can
from now on, I mean, we're gonna do Umineko and Higurashi spoilers, so if you haven't read those, we hope you enjoyed the episode up until this point, and as I said previously, see you in a year again.
Yeah.
Gotta drag this out till Phase 2 actually releases.
You'd spend that year reading Higurashi and Umineko, because like...
Yeah, it's doable.
They're really good.
Yeah.
So, now we're in full When They Cry spoilers, so what's your thought?
Yeah. So, my thought was that this is a bigger version of what happened with Land of the Golden Witch, where Ryukishi gauged the audience reaction, realized that his plan wasn't going to work, and just completely reworked the idea.
But it didn't take fucking 5 years the last time.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
now he's
because-
working on Silent Hill also.
Yeah.
Also, wasn't Umineko just kind of like written like one after the other? He didn't have like the entire outline thing. Like Ciconia was completely planned from the start. Like he had everything ready. So if he's going and changing just phase 2, imagine like the ripple effects it has for the entire rest of the story he had planned.
So maybe it's the themes are going to be just a little bit altered to be more, well, because like instead of it being, okay, I don't want to make an episode that's too difficult, it's I don't want to make a phase that is too hard or heartbreaking for people to read because it relates too much to current events.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Like when I tell jokes about phase 2, like I understand the sentiment. It's just yeah, it's been so fucking long. Okay, so I only have 2 very small thoughts for this part. One of them is about the whole contrarian thing that we've discussed and how that's like kids/teen behavior, and which made me think back to Umineko when George has that whole talk regarding Maria and how kids have this tendency to try to be different because that's how they develop their personalities. It's by being different. And I wonder if that will have anything to play, because again, this is a story about kids and how they're on the center stage of any era. Not I keep saying kids, but it's not just kids. It's like the younger generation.
Yeah, the younger generation. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my other thought is the thought that I have as I was reading it for the first time, which immediately after I read the thing about contrarian genes, my mind immediately went to Butler.
Magic's not real.
Exactly. Because like everyone around him, all the fantasy characters are like, fantasy is real, Butler, magic is real, and he's just so adamant on standing his ground and denying magic. We gotta have a Butler aligned character in Ciconia at some point, right?
That is actually such a perfect description of Battler, because like, yes, he's like only like, or he not only, but he's like, oh, magic's not real because everyone says magic's real. But then like the next episode, he's like, oh, I don't know, maybe magic is real because like not enough people are saying magic is real. I don't know, something like that. Just being like contrarian.
yeah. And then in EP3 as well, because he starts aligning with Beta too. Yeah, and then Eva Beta is against Beta. Yeah, Butler is just straight up a fucking a failsafe in Ciconia. Yeah, that's the extent of my thoughts.
I have my little silly theory, and I was just like checking the intro to phase 1 again, just for my little thoughts here. The whole like, you know, like, oh, we're finally starting up this game. You know, like, I'm well aware that, you know, the joy of achieving victory, especially over conditions such as that, this is considerably high tier of difficulty after all, and your opponent is already fully prepared. So, you know, we know this is a game, obviously. Mm-hmm. And there is a huge theme in Ciconia that we're the pieces this time. Like, no one in this story is, like, involved with, like, the meta sense of it, like, whether, like, we have witches playing games like an Umineko, or, like, you know, like something adjacent that is like reflective of that. But I just had like a brain blast moment.
Okay.
Where I was like, what if Blue Meow is the player who is controlling the Peace Meow? And Blue Meow is basically like kind of like a meta battler.
Haven't we brought this up once about how like the way Blue Meow controls male Meow isn't by directly controlling him, like pressing a button, going forward, and then the character goes forward. The way he plays this game is by chatting with the main character and then trying to influence him one way or the other. I mean,
do we know exactly how other pieces are influenced? We've never seen it from their point of view when they're being controlled specifically.
What do you mean, in like Umineko and shit?
Yeah, it's a very interesting implication. If Blue Meow is the player, then the only reason Meow wouldn't do exactly what he's being told to do is that it's not out of character for him, right?
Yeah.
So doesn't that just imply that, like, Blue Meow has information, which we know he does, has information that Meow does not? Actually, that's exactly what he says, right? He's like,
Yeah.
oh, as soon as I, like, tell you the truth, you'll immediately turn into a murder machine. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe Blue Meow's the player, and he just needs to give Meow a little piece of information, and then it'll be in character for him to murder the three kings.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, it's like
Similar.
he has read ahead on the story, or like he's on a second playthrough.
Yeah, and like we know from the introduction that the whoever is challenging our player knows the conditions, you know, like the whole line, like, I'm well aware, you know, the joy of achieving victory, especially over conditions such as that. So like it feels like they know at least the direction the game is going. And, you know, knowing that pieces can act in a way that is out of character for them, to try to like finagle Meow into doing what it is that he needs to do from a player's standpoint is kind of the goal of Blue Meow. Like it's kind of like, you know, like in like a choice-based RPG, like picking the right dialogue options to like get the right sequence of events to like move things forward, but like not knowing exactly what they are.
I think that would make for such an actual game in our reality. It would make for such a great game if the gameplay was literally just that. Your main character is like coded with some kind of AI,
gotta
so
convince
that
them to do shit.
you have a conversation with this AI and try to convince him to do all sorts of different things to progress the game.
That's a really cool game concept, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That reminds me of an interview with Uchikoshi, the creator of Zero Escape, and Kidaka, the creator of Danganronpa, and they were talking about the differences in how they like to create games and game stories. And Uchikoshi is all about splitting paths, and Kidaka's like, I'm not so interested in the what ifs like Uchikoshi is. I'm interested in he had a particular phrase, like the peril present or something. And he says, I'd be more interested in choices. I'd be more interested in split paths if it wasn't choice-based. If it was like you wind up with something different happening and you're like, hey, how did I get to this route? And then it struck me that that's exactly what Higurashi is.
Oh.
Higurashi is them like
Right.
going on loops,
I
not
see.
by choice, but by...
Like, how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah, like you lift the glass a little bit to the left this run, and that like caused the weight of the table to be slightly to the left, and then like
Butterfly
like,
effect.
yeah, the entire house like topples over into a chasm or something, and you end up in
Yeah.
the Undertale route.
Blue Meow being the player doesn't explain the blue bitches down in the wisdom cave or Blue Jaden at the end, because what the fuck was that about?
I was about to ask.
I mean, like, unless like Jaden is also like playing the game up there, like, I don't know, like an Angie Battler situation where they're both fighting together or something. I don't know.
No, he could be, because he meant if this is a game where you're trying to influence a character that's coded with an AI, it could be just that if like we're assuming all of the characters are controlled by a player, not just Meow. If Jaden also has his own player, what if his player, I don't know, messed with him in such a way that Jaden became self-aware and became a player himself at the end of the story?
That could be true, because you know, we know from Higurashi and Umineko that pieces can rise to the meta level or like be even just like dragged in there.
Yeah, that's the Rika route. That's the Burn Castle route.
Yeah, that's I think it's interesting to think about and keep in mind when we keep reading, because
Yeah.
I feel like I may be onto something here.
Yeah, I hope you are, because this is super interesting.
Thinking about what Blue Meow is all about is going to be very key to like solving things moving
Very
forward.
much.
Because I'm trying to remember, my gut reaction when I first saw Blue Jaden, because I was thinking like, this is totally uninformed, just gut reaction, is like, oh, maybe the blue Meow represented Meow's anxieties, and this is revealing Jaden was feeling a similar way the entire time. I don't know. But now, because I'm on my my anti-Stan arc,
Me too.
I'm thinking about all these drugs and how they're used to influence Naima. And by the way, Naima is the ace in her kete, and Stan is just able to. Stan and Naomi are able to manipulate her with drugs. So I'm like, what if this program that Blue Meow is talking about is like caused by drugs to manipulate someone's mind and body in such a way to create a program within them?
The segues pretty nicely into my one and only Higurashi Umineko thought, which is like, I really hope that Ciconia is weird.
Yes.
I want Ciconia to have a really weird, like, I was thinking about this while I was like reading like Tojiro's Unhinged Round about bloody conformists and stuff, and I was like, man, I really don't want this to be like the Higurashi answer where it's all a government conspiracy and like all they have to do is beat up the government conspiracy people and then everything will be fine. Like, this needs to be weird. If it's not weird, it'll feel kind of weak at the end. Like, it needs to be like, you know, they need to be in an alternate reality, or they need to be like like players of a game or something, or like or this is the Truman Show for like Meow, or like any given character at any one time. Like it's
I agree. It has to be deeper.
Yeah, I think it is. I wanted to check something based on my earlier thoughts, and the conversation Koshka and Meow have, like, basically at the very end when like Meow's like spacing out and Jay was like, hey, what the fuck? Clearly Koshka might have some meta awareness, but the thing that gets me is the language Meow uses when talking to Koshka. I'm just gonna read this conversation. Koshka's like, Meow, now even you should be able to understand, and he's like, Koshka, and the now even you should be able to understand might be like a self-awareness thing. And then Koshka says, this world has been lacking love from the start. We are nothing but mass-produced factory products born so that someone can use us and throw us away. And Meow goes, is it really useless? Is it? No matter how much we game pieces struggle, is there really no way for us to rebel against the people giving orders from outside the chessboard? And, you know, Koshka is saying that they can rebel and, like, you know, destroy things and throw it all away. And I'm pretty sure that is kind of the trigger. I feel like that's gonna kind of maybe eventually start being the point of Ciconia, like you know, like fighting for what you believe in, and like kind of like going against the grain. That
was a conversation between Burton Castell and Battler,
right?
Like, around like
right.
EP2 or EP3 or something.
Like, and like then it goes into a whole thing where like, you know, like Blue Meow is like, hey, you're going to kill these people, and Meow's like, I don't care what you fucking say, I won't, we swore we wouldn't. And he's like, oh yeah, well they're gonna kill them too, like playing friends is meaningless, all of you will kill each other. And like they're just like, you know, fighting against each other, but like it does happen, despite Meow even saying that like he has faith in the heart, because he might not be able to fully control what happens. Also, given Tojiro, you know, stepped in there, like, is Tojiro possibly the you know, piece of the enemy? Like, are our players fighting for control over Meow? Right. That's also a thing. Like, I want this to be my piece. Like, this is the game-changing piece. We're like fighting to see who gets to push Meow around and like do it.
It's like a Rouge-like cross battle royale where every run they randomly get one of the characters.
Maybe I feel
that sounds like a sick game concept. Wait, God, wow, damn, that also sounds like a great game.
I don't know. It just feels like Meow is such like a game change. Like he's like the golden snitch in Quidditch. You know, like you gotta like grab him, and once you got him, you basically win. Blue Meow just can't seem to convince Meow to do what he needs to do to not kill his friends.
Real quick, Lerf, well, it wasn't actually Lerf who said it, but there was the thing with, what was it? Fuck. Well, I'll just say it. The Lilia saying meow all the time and how that might be a keyword. It reminded me of Lerf saying that Hanyu was saying ow ow to call to Aurora, feathering. That's what it reminded me of.
It's like Burn Castell, meow meow meow.
Damn! Oh my god! Yeah. What the fuck?
Okay, I mean, honestly, I just like I be looking at verbal tics now, and I'm like, are you saying this because of trauma, or are you saying this to call to a witch? Yeah, because like the whole ow ow ow, and then like finding out that like Berncastel calls Featherine ow ow Aurora, just like smacked me in the face. So I don't think it's a stretch that Lila is or Lilia. I don't know how to pronounce her name. That she's a burn piece, but also she has the fucking cinnamon bun hair, and I really think that those two, Kashka and Lila, are just like Burn and Lambda working together. I feel like Burn, Castell, and Lambda Delta are working together.
This might actually work into my theory about the Koshka Looper and how Lilia being the clay girl means that she might get the power to loop eventually. And like, because Pandora is the one made out of clay and will open Pandora's box. If those two are the ones who the emotional climax of Ciconia will rest upon, then it'll basically be another Lambda Delta Berncastel Satiko Rika, another kind of conflict that this will like fall upon.
Guys, sorry, I'm fucking falling asleep on the recording.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good time to wrap up.
You can keep going if you want to. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I've been feeling sleepy for the past 30 minutes, and I'm starting to fall asleep on recording now.
Go to bed, Jess. Let's sign off.
I'm good.
Go to bed.
You can keep going if you want to.
I got a dip too.
I was just.
We've been going for like almost
Okay.
2 hours 20 minutes basically.
2 hours 20 minutes.
Well, so we hope you enjoyed it up until this point. And again, I'll say it for the fucking third time. We'll see you in a year. Wait, no, this wasn't what I wanted to say, was it?
That's
Anyway, I'm Des. I hope you liked the episode. And yeah, anyone have anything else to say?
Thanks for listening. We'll see you eventually when Ryukishi releases phase 2, or whenever we figure out when we're gonna record again. One of those.
Hopefully in less than a year, yeah.
Hopefully, maybe 6 months. Yeah. Let's be hopeful.
Okay, let's shoot for 6 months.
I'm hopeful. I'm sure we can get together more recently, sooner than that. But
yep. See ya.
Kakite.
Goodbye.
We'll see you when the Ciconia cry again.